Hey everyone, it's Scott Roberts and Christina here at Explore Scientific, and we've got today what we're going to show you is the Explore One CF400 SP telescope. This is a ultra portable design, and we're going to take it out of the box, show you how it works, and do some observing tips. But let's look at what we showed last time.
Scott, it
doesn't want to play. Maybe we'll show it at the end of this video if it does play. Anyhow, well, let's just get right into it. Now, you know, a little telescope like this is going to have a lot of important features that you'd look for even in any kind of telescope. But let's kind of go through some of the points that you have about the telescope that you want to talk about.
Yeah. One of the really good points that I have a question about is, would this be something that, you know, something that my kids would want to use, or?
I think so. I think so. And I think it would be priced at, you know, it says ages 10 and up, but I think even smaller kids could use it. But certainly any telescope, we're going to have adult supervision, you know.
Okay.
So one of them is because of solar safety. We don't want them looking at the sun accidentally. But you know, there's some little parts on it as well. So it's always a good idea if you've got an adult there present that kind of knows how the telescope works and knows that if you're going to observe the sun, it could be dangerous. Okay, so we don't have a solar filter for this telescope. You could get one for it, but that's not the way it's sold. So, but I think that some of the advantages, and it's going to be self-evident, when we build the telescope, you're going to see how lightweight it is, how fast it goes together, and how easy it's going to be to observe things both on the land and in the sky with this telescope.
How deep into the sky would you be able to view?
Ooh, that's a good question. And that kind of relates to the how powerful is the telescope. With this telescope, under really dark skies, you know, when I say dark skies, you're out, there's no white lights on, no neighbors with white lights on, and you can see the Milky Way overhead clearly, okay? With that kind of sky, you could see galaxies and nebula with it, probably galaxies as far as maybe 40 million light years away.
Wow,
yeah,
that's great.
Right? And so the Whirlpool galaxy is about 35 million light years away, and you can definitely see it with this telescope.
Okay. And so you can even see like planets and
Oh,
moons.
that stuff's in your, that's like backyard stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, you wouldn't even need dark skies for that. You get out to just a backyard, even with, you know, if there was a stadium right across the street, you'd still be able to find the planets, the bright ones anyways, and certainly the moon. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That seems really neat.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about the telescope before we start building it. And we have one of the guys in quality control tear one of these scopes apart for me, okay? Now, a lot of telescopes that are sold to people are not built properly, okay? One of them is that a lot of small telescopes have, you'll see that this has two lenses here. I don't know if we can get a close-up of this. But let's. Sorry?
Yeah, there you go.
Down here?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. All right. So we've got an image-forming element, and this is a corrective element. And you'll see that the image-forming element actually has curves on both sides, and then the corrective element has like a concave bowl shape and a flat on the other side. When we do this and we put them together, what it does is it eliminates any kind of tapering of the lenses. And you probably have looked through crystal prisms before. Light passes through it because it's got that taper, and it splits sunlight into all the rainbow colors, okay?
Yeah.
Well, if you put a corrective lens so that you can take out the distance, the center and the edge, okay, then when the light passes through here, almost all the colors focus at the same time. you can get it better with super expensive glasses and all the rest of it, but this does a very, very nice job. And so this is something that you're going to be looking for. This is a 70 millimeter aperture, so it gathers a lot of light, okay, which is great.
Yeah.
This has an air spacing that actually helps correct the distortions that the lens might otherwise have. And this lens here, you can see that it's, I don't know if that shows up very well, but it is coated, okay, which lets light transmit through the glass and reduces glare and increases contrast.
Oh, that's good.
Right? So it's a real telescope, okay, a real objective lens in that regard. When you look through at the telescope, a lot of telescopes of this, you know, in these price ranges, sometimes the tube's made out of plastic. This is a metal tube. It has a dew shield. Okay, this keeps dew from forming on the lens. But inside, it's dark in there, so it's going to be hard to see this. But inside, and the reason why it is so dark is because the inside is flat black. Okay? And inexpensive telescopes, they skip. One of the ways to cut costs is not to make that inside flat black. Okay? And we do that so that you get the best possible contrast through there. There is also inside, deep inside, baffles, okay, that also remove, this is another expense that you'll see in cheap telescopes. You won't see baffles in there, okay? And trying to get this lined up here so that you can see a baffle, okay? But the baffle cuts out stray light. So these are the really important features of this telescope that are going to produce a beautiful image, okay? And absorb as much light as it can and pass that light through to your eyepiece. On the back, we've got a rack and pinion focuser, so you got a nice smooth focus. 1 1/4 inch correct image prism, which we'll talk about later here, why that's important. And then we have 2 1 1/4 inch eyepieces and a 2x 1 1/4 inch Barlow lens, okay? There's also a red dot finder, but essentially when you get the telescope out of the box, you're going to find out it's pretty much pre-assembled, so this is going to make it easy to use, so, and to assemble and to put away. So let's go ahead. And what else is on your list of?
Oh yeah. Let's see. You said it comes with 2 eyepieces?
2 eyepieces.
Good.
So this is a 20 and a 6 millimeter.
Okay. That's pretty good. And a Barlow and a diagonal, which you were just showing us.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
and we
let's.
talked about it's easy to use and easy to transport.
Right.
Good for kids.
Great for kids. It's not going to take up a bunch of space on in your bedroom or living room or wherever you put this. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe your child could even put it like in their backpack.
Possibly.
Whenever you're going out.
Right, because it's
Yeah.
small. That's true.
I was just
good
thinking
point.
about me and my kids. We had a telescope, and they
Right.
would put it in this backpack, and it was just easy to transport like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is going to have 2 boxes. Thank you. There we go. 3 boxes, excuse me. All right, and that's everything. So that's the instruction manual. And it helps to read the instruction manual.
It's got some colored pictures there.
Got some colored pictures. It talks about the different objects that are up in the sky.
Yep.
So we try to give you some idea of what it can see. Unfortunately, here's the disclaimer, unfortunately, even through some of the largest telescopes that astronomers can use in amateur astronomy, color is not easily seen. In fact, it's, and the reason for that is the color is actually there in a lot of these objects, but your eye's not sensitive enough to pick it up. So you have something called rods and cones in your retina. The rods allow you to see brightness levels, and the cones may allow you to see the color. If you don't have like enough light, the cones don't really activate. So,
Okay. So it ends up looking like bright and shiny, like the objects in space?
if they're deep sky objects, they're going to look like blue-gray smoke, okay, something like that. Planets are going to be pretty bright though,
Yeah.
and dazzling, and the moon is going to knock your eye out. So,
Yeah.
not damaging your eye, but okay. So what we've done is we pulled out the telescope tube. We have the tripod here. This is a control arm, okay. And then this box is going to have all the little accessories. So you're going to have a camera adapter for your smartphone. You've got a red dot finder here with its battery. You've got what's called a 45-degree correct image prism, okay? And this turns this telescope into also a spotting scope. So if you want to look at birds or mountains or ships at sea or something like that, you can do that. This is an accessory tray, so we're going to have that out.
You can put your lenses in there?
Put your lenses in there, so when you're observing at night, it's nice to know where all your stuff is, right? Okay. So we're going to start with getting the tripod set up. Now the tripod is really already assembled with its head, okay? It's got these spreader bars down here that make the tripod sturdy. It is a metal tripod, okay? That's continuously adjustable. And so if you twist this counterclockwise, you'll see that the legs drop out, okay? And you can make it as tall as you need to. Okay, and what else do we have here? Okay, so this is the head of the mount, and this is called an alt-as mount. As is the side-to-side movement. Alt is the up and down movement. If you're a photographer, this is like tilt and pan, okay? So a lot of people have hobbies as photographers, and they're familiar with that kind of those terms. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to screw in this control handle into the back. And when I do that, it can clamp down and make that sturdy. So I can either go partly tight, okay, so I can move it up and down, or I can really lock it and it's firm, okay? So we're going to do that. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see the whole telescope when I put this up here or not. Let's find out. There is I think we're cutting it off just a little bit, but that's all right. Just a touch. Oh. I tried to do this backwards. But this knob right here actually locks the telescope on. So I've got it back in there. This has a little notch right here. This fits into a cavity that's up here. And there is another threaded hole right here. And so I'm just going to put it into the cavity. I'm going to tighten this down so I don't lose the telescope. And then I'm going to tighten this up so it actually secures the telescope onto the mount. Now, let me pull this down so that you can see it. This is the red dot finder.
It doesn't focus. You got to go back where you were.
Okay.
Got the focus locked down.
We're going to put it on the red dot finder by sliding it into its holder. Okay. And then there's a piece of plastic right here. I pull that out and the battery engages. And what it does is it allows me to turn on a red dot. Okay. So that's the deal there. And so we're almost all assembled. How long did it take? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. All right, screw that down. Put the 45-degree prism in there. Now there is a little set screw right here. We're just going to loosen that up a little bit so I can push in the holder. I'm going to tighten it up, just finger tight, not super tight.
If you move the table and extend the legs, it should be perfect.
Yep, let's do that.
Put that thing on rollers.
We need it on a
We have
roller.
the adapter here.
Yeah, we got the little camera adapter, so we'll try to move this a little bit off camera. And you can see, if I extend the legs, there we go. There we are. And there is another cap right here that I'm going to pull out. And if you want to open up one of those eyepieces, the bigger of the two, this will be a 20 millimeter eyepiece. It just pulls right out. There you go. This is a 20 millimeter, okay? So the telescope is a 400 millimeter focal length. So think of it as like a camera lens, okay? If I take this lens, this eyepiece, and I divide 400 by 20, okay, so what is that magnification?
You're going to make me do math.
400, 400 divided by 20 would be 20, right? So I'm going to have, through this telescope, with this eyepiece on it, I'm going to have a 20 magnification view, okay? So things will look 20 times larger than they do through the naked eye. At 20 times, you can start to actually detect the rings of Saturn. They'll look very small, but you can detect them. You know, with the higher power eyepiece, you can see it larger and it'll be more apparent to you. But you can see the way I'm moving the telescope. This just slides back and forth, side to side. It's very easy, very smooth. The lock on the handle also makes this very smooth. It's a wide field telescope, and this will make it really, really easy to find things up in the sky. So as I change eyepieces, I'm going to change magnifications. All right. That was a little stiff.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There we go.
You can tell this is a live program, right? Here we go. The rubber eye cup is just making it. I don't have any fingernails. Maybe you can do it. I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, well, while you work on that, I'm going to talk about some of the other features,
Yeah,
okay?
go ahead.
All right. So, anyhow, the red dot finder works like this. What you're going to do is you're going to slide the on-off switch to the on position. And when you look through the red dot finder, you're going to look through it just like this. And what I see right now across the room, across the studio, is a red dot reflected against this glass. It looks like it's a laser or something, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to take a look?
Yeah.
All right, so you can see.
Yeah, it looks very red.
Very
Like,
red.
When you look through it, like the room looks red.
Right, and so I want to
I
put...
did get it out.
Oh, you did get it out? Okay, awesome,
You
thank
kind
you.
of take your nail and just kind of like pull.
Oh, you pull on
Yeah.
that and slide it
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I just cut
Yeah.
all my fingernails off.
Oh, even a short nail, it'll be okay.
I have like no nails. I have something that covers the end of my finger, and that's it. Okay, so what you'll start off with is when you look at the red dot finder, you'll see there's a little peephole right underneath it, okay? And you're using this to line up the finder with something in the eyepiece, okay? So when we get, like right now, I'm focusing on the door handle that goes into the studio. Now what I want to do is adjust the finder, the red dot finder. I can adjust it from side to side. And so right now I'm going sideways, and I'm double checking to make sure the handle's still in the eyepiece, and then there's another adjustment on the back here. That makes it go up and down, so I'm going to make that, I'm going to adjust that until it goes up. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Now I've moved the telescope quite a bit, so I got the handle back in there. And there we go. If you want to look now, you can see the red dot is aimed at the door handle.
Oh yeah.
Right?
There's like a little red dot in the middle.
And it's in the scope now. So now these guys are calibrated. So now what I do is I look up at the sky and I see, let's say, the moon. Okay, that's going to be easy. And I put the red dot right on the moon. Now, because the moon is 225,000 miles away and that door is maybe 50 feet away, there's this angle that's going to be slightly different. Okay, so while the red dot was right on the door handle, when I aim it at the moon, it's going to be a little bit off. So it's close enough right now for me to get in the moon, so I'm going to center the moon up. And then quickly, I'm going to come back up here and make another adjustment, up and down, maybe side to side a little bit, until it's done. You might go back and forth a couple of times with this, but once you do it, now whatever I put the red dot in the sky is going to be in the eyepiece. Okay? And so that's how you align and set up the finder scope on this. We should talk about the Barlow lens, which is also another accessory that comes with this telescope. And did we dig out the Barlow? Oh, we don't have a Barlow with this particular one. Okay, my mistake, my mistake. Instead of a Barlow, you got a camera adapter, okay? So a Barlow lens can be purchased for this, but it would be an additional accessory. Barlow lenses can double the magnification of each eyepiece, okay? And it could work on this particular telescope. So, but with the two eyepieces here, you're going to have about 20 power and about 60 power, okay, with the instrument. And so 60 power is good for the moon. It's good for the planets. It's about the maximum magnification you can use on the ground. And the reason for that is that when you're looking line of sight across the ground, you are looking through the thickest and most turbulent part of our atmosphere. And so I'm sure you've been driving down the highway and you've seen like heat waves rising off the road, right?
Yeah.
Well, the closer you get to the ground, the more turbulence you have. And so telescopes not only magnify and resolve the objects up in the sky or anything that you're looking at, but they also magnify and resolve all the turbulence. So if you're at 20 power and the sky is slightly turbulent, it will look 20 times worse, okay? Yeah. That way. If the sky's really steady, then you can boost that magnification up and you can do really well and still see a real sharp image. But about 60 power is about the most that you can get out of it. I did want to talk about this prism a little bit more because most prisms on telescopes are just 90 degrees. This, you see, that's 45 degrees, right?
Yeah.
If you use a 90-degree prism, or a 90-degree prism, when I put this in, and I look straight down, and I look at a stop sign or something like that, the words are going to be backwards. Through this, they're going to be correct. So you could read a sign with it. You can, if you're following an animal or looking at whales on the ocean with it, you're going to be able to follow correctly, okay? So that's that. What am I forgetting?
We haven't talked about, the style
Right, okay, all right. So you'll see that there is a little bit of styling here. It's got a carbon fiber styled wrap. It's cobalt blue color. I call it cobalt blue.
Yeah.
So that's kind of attractive.
Yeah, the carbon fiber kind of gives it like a little bit of a like checkerboard pattern.
Right.
Somewhat. Yes, texture. Does it reflect the light? Or keep it from being shiny?
It keeps it from being shiny.
Yeah.
You know, it's really that design is very popular right now. So
Yeah.
that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, it's like a pretty midnight blue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of, you know, this is about the color of the sky as you can start to see stars in the sky.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it gets later.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about the accessory tray. These eyepieces will fit right up in here. Okay. So if you want to get ready to use your smartphone to take pictures, all you got to do is you take the smartphone camera adapter. You're going to back out a little screw here. You're going to drop that in. You probably actually have used this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So you'll drop this in. And I didn't bring my smartphone with me, but there is suction cups that's on the camera adapter itself. And what you're going to do is you're going to center the camera lens over the eyepiece. This is after you get a focus, okay? And you'll see the image. Maybe it's the moon, okay?
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe it's a bird or something that you're trying to photograph. You'll center that up. You'll squeeze down the smartphone on top of it, and then you can start taking pictures. Okay, so it's that simple.
Yeah.
Or video if you'd like. So this telescope, although it's short focal length, it is very versatile because it's great as a spotting scope. It's great as an astronomical telescope. It can look at planets. It can do deep sky objects. So you can get galaxies. You can see nebula if you go out to where it's dark. Using it is, well, transporting it, as you said, is really, really easy. So you'll just unspin the accessory tray, fold up the legs.
Put it all back together.
Put it all back together. Now, if you wanted to, you could just carry it just like this. You can fit in the back seat of your car or something. Or if you got the backpack, you know, take off the all
So
the.
is this something that you could like pull up a chair if you're going to be outside for a while?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because relaxing at the telescope is really super important.
Yeah.
Because the more you relax, the longer you're going to look, and you're going to notice finer details. So even if you're looking at Saturn or Jupiter, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people come up to the eyepiece, you get Saturn in there, you know, and first off, they don't believe it's Saturn. They just go...
They don't?
No, they think it's like a slide or a sticker or an image or something is in front of the telescope, okay? But they're seeing the rings. They're seeing this other world. And, but a lot of people come up and they go, oh, yeah, I see it. You know, they take 5 seconds to look at this thing that's almost 1 billion miles away, okay? But they sit down and, as you say, get maybe a chair to relax.
Because you wouldn't want to sit like that for very long.
No, it's bad on your back. So you sit back and you get on Saturn, and one of the things you're going to notice is that the Earth is turning. It turns actually on its axis 1,000 miles an hour. And so as you're looking through the telescope, Saturn's going to look like it's slowly moving out of the field of view, no matter, you know, what part of what time of night that you're looking at it. So we get it on there.
They're always moving.
Always moving. So you're going to be making slight adjustments, adjusting up and down if you have to. So the actual movement is going to be like up and over, down and over, down and over, down and over as it's setting. So all stars, the planets, and the moon all look like they're rising from the east horizon, setting in the west horizon. Finding planets is not really that hard because if you know where to look in the sky, there's a path called the ecliptic. And a clue for you to find the ecliptic, especially if the moon is out and the sun is just set, okay? You can draw a line from where you know where the sun rises to the moon to where the sun sets, and then you start looking at this arc in the sky. If you see some other bright stars, what look like stars, and you compare those stars against other neighboring stars, you'll notice that the other neighboring stars are probably twinkling. Planets don't twinkle.
No.
Yeah, so this is one of the giveaways, right? This is a little tip. They don't twinkle, and the reason for that is that they're close enough to us so that we can see some angular size to them. But stars are so far away that they're true pinpoints of light. So as we're observing through this 100 kilometers of atmosphere, if the sky is really steady and we got maybe slow waves and there's not a lot of heat around us, you know, it's not like summertime or something, we're going to notice that the sky twinkles very little, maybe not at all, okay? Wow. If it's not at all, then you're going to have super razor sharp images, even at the highest magnification. You know, so if the stars are twinkling like crazy, they don't twinkle like that in space, okay? Yeah. So the guys that are going to be on Artemis, when they fly to the moon, they're going to see what looks like stars spray painted up there with no disturbance of the stars at all. Yeah. Okay?
That is really neat.
So that's, yeah, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah. The excellent thing that to be bought with it is the planosphere.
It is a planosphere, and let's talk about the planosphere. Yeah. So, we have a planosphere here. This is our giant planosphere. Yeah. Actually, the real planosphere is this little guy right here. Okay.
Take a step to your left, please.
Yeah, I'm pushing her out of the frame here. So, okay. So anyhow, here, I'll give this to you. And so the way a planosphere, the reason why we made this big one is so that you could actually see how it works. Okay. What is today's December 6th, right?
Yes.
December 6th, though. This is broken down in 5-day increments. So this is December 5th. We're going to put 9 p.m. just right after December 5th. That will be what the sky looks like, all the constellations that are up, okay, during that particular time. So if I look at this right now, I'm going to see that the constellation Cancer is rising in the east. Setting in the west is the constellation Vulpecula and Delphinius. There's 88 constellations all in all, northern and southern hemisphere. This is where the North Star would be. And these guys are deep sky objects here. And so by using this, you can get your bearings and you can see where things up are in the sky. This line, this brown line right here, is called the ecliptic, and that is the path of the planets across the sky. So you can always find them, okay, this way. And if you're a real good observer and you use the clue of not seeing a star twinkle when other stars are twinkling around it, you can find some of the more difficult to find planets like the planet Uranus and Neptune, okay? Oh, wow. They look aqua blue, and if you're in really dark skies, you can actually pick them out by the naked eye. So this kind of foggy blue area right here is the Milky Way. That's our own galaxy that we live in. And you're going to, throughout the course of the night, you're going to see things rise in the east, set in the west. Rise in the east, set in the west. And so a planosphere is a real good idea to get for any telescope. And then later you might want apps that you can download that have the entire universe, that you can see all these different objects. But that's where your adventure will begin. And we hope that this was useful to you. If you're thinking of making a gift purchase for under $100, okay, this is a great telescope to get. Being that it is small, okay, in its length, it's going to be really steady. This is something that a lot of people don't consider. A longer telescope, especially a small telescope on a small tripod like this, I mean, it makes it super lightweight, easy to
Yeah.
carry around. It also makes it less expensive to buy, but a smaller telescope doesn't vibrate as much as a big telescope does. Remember that magnification we were talking about?
Yeah.
You go and you touch a telescope,
Uh-huh.
and you're at 60 magnification. That touch gets magnified 60 times,
Oh, wow.
right? So if it is a shorter telescope, it doesn't vibrate for as long, okay? So these are all the reasons why that we think that this is a great telescope for first-time amateur astronomers, as a gift, and something, you know, because of all the features. We talked about the objective lens with the coating on it, the corrective lens, the air spacing, the flat black inside the tube, the proper baffling inside the tube. All these things will make it a higher performance telescope than you might get otherwise. So when you're out comparing, you know, we're not the only telescope maker out there, but if you're out comparing, these are some of the things you want to find out, you know. Is it metal? Is it plastic? Is it shiny inside, or is it dull, flat black inside? These are important features. So, and I think that kind of wraps it up. Unless you have any other points that you think I missed here.
No, I mean, let's make sure that we got all of our points. I mean, I basically want to know, like, if you could see Saturn's rings, and you did cover that we can
Right.
see Saturn's rings.
Right.
And that we can see maybe some moons that are going to look like shiny objects.
So when you look at Jupiter, you know, this is, again, this is a 70 millimeter aperture telescope. This is a much larger aperture telescope than Galileo had, okay? But with Galileo's little telescope, he was able to see Jupiter and see its moons.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the reason they call them the Galilean moons. Duh, you know, so, but he observed, he was watching them throughout the course of the night, and then night after night, and he noticed that those moons were moving around Jupiter. And so this was the clue for him that the Earth was not the center of the universe or the center of our solar system. It was thought that during his day that the sun actually orbited the Earth, and it was quite the opposite. Okay, we're orbiting the sun, of course, and Jupiter was his clue about this that confirmed that. He also did see the rings on Saturn, but he thought that they were like bumps or ears or something. His telescope wasn't sharp enough to actually resolve the feature of the rings around Saturn. This one definitely is, okay? So if Galileo had had this telescope, wow, you know, he would have seen amazing detail, much sharper images of the mountains and craters on the moon. You know, if you and I were out with him and we pointed out, you got out the planosphere and said, you know, the Andromeda Galaxy's right up there, pointed at the Andromeda Galaxy, and he would have been observing with this telescope at a galaxy over 2 million light years away.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's, you know, and, you know, one of the things that amateur astronomers talk about a lot is the distance of things and how long light takes to get to you, okay? So if we walk outside, you have your kids feel the heat rays or the heat of the sun in their hands. It's because the radiation of the sun is actually warming you up. The reason why you can see it during the day, of course, is a constant flow of photons coming out. These are made in the core of the sun. And so when we look at a galaxy, you're seeing the light of billions of suns, okay?
Yeah.
Billions of suns. And so those photons travel across space all that time. When we opened the program, we talked about maybe seeing the Milky or the Whirlpool galaxy 35 million light years away.
Wow.
So I don't know what was going on here 35 million years ago, but you know, it predates human existence, and so you know, the world was much different at that time. But you are receiving not a copy of the photons, but the actual photons that were created inside those stars, and so that's what's so exciting about looking through a telescope.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's all I got for today.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And thank you. And that's a wrap.